in this part, I'm going to show you how to use brush, paint, smudge and erase option here in Procreate. So if you go to the brushes in the brush library, you can see so many brushes with different texture, different feelings here. I would recommend to use different brush to see how it feels and how it looks. It's very important. Some brushes is good for sketching, some brushes are good for coloring, some are very amazing effects on your painting. There are so many brushes to explore, so I would highly recommend to test all, if not all the brushes, but at least half of them, because it's very important to know the different brush. So the other option in Procreate is Smudge. It's very interesting because both Smudge and Erasing has got the same brushes, using the same brushes library Procreate has. And if we draw some lines here, let me just go to the brush and choosing different brush. If you just draw some line here, it already shows how different these lines are just by changing the type of brush here. And then if we go to Smudge and see, for example, I'm using this brush and then I'm using the other brush, and you can see how different these effects are just by using different brush in smudging. It's the same in erasing as well. So if we go and click twice on the eraser, it gives us the option of choosing different brush even for erasing the lines. And for example, if we go this one, and here we can change the opacity of and the size of the brush as well. So I choose this brush and then have it the size of this, and the opacity is the highest, and you can see it completely erased the whole thing here. But if we change the opacity here, it just like remove partly of the paint. And if we change the brush here, it changes the way it wipes some of the paint of your canvas. So you can see already just by using eraser on your painting, you can make texture in your painting, which is very important in Procreate and makes such a big difference here. So the next one is our color palette. Let's go to the next session and I'll show you how to use your own palette here. So here in Procreate, we go to the palette and we have 5 options here. The left one is a disc, and it's just simply you can go around the circle and change the color you'd like to have. And from the small circle inside, you can set the saturation and brightness of your color. And that's one of the way to choose color in Procreate. The bar behind the circle is your history, and the rainbow one that I have, I called it rainbow, is my default palette. You can change your default palette later. The next tab is classic, and it's basically you can change the color you have using 3 bars here that shows the saturation and the brightness of your color. And again, you have the history and your default palette here. Harmony, you can play with harmony and it suggests you the colors in the same harmony. Or if you want just particular color, you can just put the value of the color in this tab, in the value tab, and you would be able to get the exact color you want. But the first tab, which is palette, is the most tab I use always, and it's because you can create your own palette. And especially if you are a graphist or you like to just use certain color palette, that's the best way to do. So you can also use the default one that Procreate has, but you can make your own color by pressing the plus here and create new palette. But as you can see, you can insert color palette from a photo, or even you can use your camera and take a photo and Procreate create a palette for you, or even like from a file. If there is a palette you want to import, you can just import it from a file. So here we just create new palette, and it actually gives you all the empty places that you need to fill the color in. For example, we are going to take some colors out of this veil I have drawn here. So as previous session I showed you, you could just press and hold on a screen and it choose the color you like to have, and then you just put it in the empty space in the palette and it sits there. So you can keep choosing different color and then tap one of the empty places you have in your palette and it creates a palette for you. So as you can see, I'm just choosing some colors. They go here. You can choose your colors, of course, from here as well. Like this red I chose, you can just choose and put it here. That's how I have created my own palette here. And when you're done with your palette, you can set this one as default, that it could come up in your default palette. So from here, press the three dots and say set as default, and this one would be your default one here in the disk, as you can see. I hope you enjoy playing with colors in your palette, and this is the most fun part in Procreate, because you can create as many as colors as you want, and then you can play with wheels, and it's very important for your designs here. And this tab, for example, I myself use it a lot because as you can see on this picture, there are some here, there are some colors that they are in a same color type but different, and that's how I use it. I just change the color here and change the saturation and brightness. It's still the same type of color but different, and you can use it as a shading for your art.